Greetings, everyone. This is Mustafaa, your digital marketing specialist, back at you with another episode. This is actually take 2 of a episode that I recorded yesterday. Just giving you the story in the background. Yesterday, I recorded a podcast about how to create content when you don't feel motivated or you just don't have any new ideas, things like that. And excuse me, it was a very, very good podcast. I felt like I put my heart in it. I gave a lot of actionable steps, and I was very proud of that episode when I hit end and once I listened to the playback, it was terrible as far as the sound quality. It sounded like I was actually underwater. And what I tried to do was, the podcast service that I use, they have an option where you can record actually in the app, and therefore it uploads directly versus recording on a separate audio app and then converting and then uploading, kind of supposed to make it a little bit more easier. So this was the first time that I was going to try that process, and I was hoping for, a good, clean, clear episode, and it didn't work out the way I intended. And I was very, very disheartened because, as I said, this was a episode that I felt like I put my heart in. I felt like I sounded very strong. I gave some actionable steps, and I was very, very proud of this particular episode. So it was very, very hard for me to have those type of bad results. But I ended up uploading it. I did. They have an option on my podcast platform as well, where you can use AI tools to kind of clean up and edit the imperfections of the podcast to make it a little bit more digestible. And I tried that, and it came across a little cleaner, but I can still hear the imperfections in the podcast, where it kind of feels like I'm a little bit underwater and it doesn't sound as clean, clear, and strong as I would normally like it to be. But I did put the episode up because, again, I was just so proud of it, and I just felt like it was some good stuff in it. But I'm re-recording it again because I just can't shake that was not my best effort, not as far as the content I gave, but as far as the audio issues. So I want to re-record the message again and get it clean and right this time. But I'm still going to leave that episode up just so you can see, or those who will come onto the podcast can actually hear a struggle moment for me where I had, a great episode as far as content, but technical and audio issues took away from my great content. And here we are at take 2, so you can compare and contrast that, we have hiccups as podcasters, as content creators. You're going to have those days where you're going to have problems, and you just have to shift, adjust, and make it happen. So here we are again, take 2 of a episode that I recorded yesterday, which was dealing with the theme and the subject of how to create content when you lack motivation or you ran out of ideas, and thus and so. So let's dig into it. As a content creator, it happens to the best of us. You can be a great content creator, you normally hitting on point. But if you do this long enough and often, there's going to come a time where you just don't have the motivation. You just don't have a new idea or a new angle that you can touch on a subject, and therefore you sit and content is not created. And as I said in yesterday's episode, it was Tuesday, today's Wednesday. The first 2 days of the week, I was in such a situation where I just did not have any motivation. I didn't have motivation to post on social media. I didn't have motivation to podcast. I didn't have motivation to record a YouTube video. I didn't have motivation to blog. I didn't have motivation to do any memes. And that's real, and that happens. But there are ways that even when that does happen, we can overcome that and still put out great content and feed our tribe and feed our audience, as I will go into for the rest of this episode. So that's just the background. That's the premise of what we're going to talk about. And we're going to go into some of those actionable things that you can do. Because, you can get into a period where you lack motivation, and sometimes it can be a day or two. Life happens to the best of us. Your mind may be somewhere else, or bills may be piling up, and you just don't have the ability to detach from your current reality to go into creative mode to create this amazing content. And you don't want to just show up sometimes when your heart is not in it and you're just droning through, especially if you're doing like a podcast where your voice is something that drives the content, or video where your body language and your voice drives the content. You don't want to show up dry on those type of things where you just distracted and people can see that your mind is obviously somewhere else. So how do we still create content in those days or a week or even a month or months where motivation has just left the building? So one of the things that I do and you can do is, if you're having a slump or a lack of motivation period, is you have to do a content audit. And by doing a content audit mean that you have to go into your files and your folders and see, what do I already have? Excuse me, I got some buzzing and bells going on in the background. But go do a content audit and go into your own files and your folders and see, what do you already have? What do you have that has been resounded great with your audience, and what have people responded to? Because this is one of the things that you can use to help you when you lack motivation or you just ran out of ideas. Let's say you have a podcast episode that really, really worked well for you. And, people responded, they liked it a lot. What you can do is, there are apps and there are tools that you can use you can chop that podcast episode up into smaller nuggets and smaller bites that you can distribute through social media. Like, go through that podcast episode and find something that where you was just hitting on 10. That was you was strong, you was making a good point, it's actionable, it's helpful to people. Clip that out. Maybe that's a minute or 40 seconds, whatever it is. Take that clip out, and you can make little mini clips of that, 2-3 of that particular podcast episode. And now there you go. You got some bite-sized content that you can share during that week where you may have a slump. And then you can use that to upload to YouTube as a short, Instagram as a reel, Facebook as a reel. And there you go. You got content that's sharing throughout, and you didn't even have to come up with nothing new. You see what I'm saying? See, that's a strategy and a tactic that you can do just by starting by doing a content audit. Or let's say you're a blogger and you got a lot of blog content, or you write articles on medium.com. You got a lot of articles and written content out there. This is what you can do. The same strategy we use with the podcast, we're going to flip it with a blog. You go through your blog posts or your articles, and you find those great nuggets of truth or great points that you just made. And then we're going to take that sentence or that paragraph, and we're going to create a nice background behind it, and some images. And now you just created memes. You just created social media graphics with your words that you can share and spread throughout the social media landscape. You see what I'm saying? There you go. You got more content, and you didn't write, record, anything. You just took what already had and repurposed it. You can do the same thing with a YouTube video. You can take those powerful clips and powerful moments where you are on fire and make little mini clips of that and spread that throughout social media. And the good things about these is, if you are on point and you're really on fire and you're really resonating with people and you're offering actionable steps and you're being helpful, all that content is going to do is inspire them to want to find out more about you. So if you took some smaller clips from a YouTube video, then you can plug it into YouTube. If you upload that as a short, the rest you can put a link to it where it'll link to the larger form content, the longer form content. So, you get them hyped with that 60 seconds. They were, man, and you leave them on that cliffhanger where you're just about to go into more. And you're like, what was he finna say? What was next? And you got them right where you want them. The same thing with those smaller podcast clips. You leave them on that cliffhanger like, and what was he finna say? And it pauses. What was he finna say? What was the next point he was finna say? What was the solution? And now they're looking you up to check out the rest of your podcast episode or your other podcast episodes or your YouTube. Or if you have these little memes and these little social media graphics that you got out there, then they want to read the rest of your blog post. You can put this extract or this piece is from my latest blog post or from the blog post, blah, blah, blah. Here's the link to it. And you just got them hyped. You created new content when you didn't have the motivation to create content. And now you're shifting them to content that you already created. So I would say start with a social media audit, because you may already have some great things out there that can just be repurposed, that can be sliced and diced and given new life in the form of shorter form content, whether it's a meme, social media graphics, smaller bite-sized podcast episodes, bite-sized smaller YouTube clips. These are your reels, these are your shorts. And then you can take these again and put them on TikTok. TikTok is a gold mine, family. TikTok, you can take these smaller clips, whether it's a YouTube video or a podcast. You can put some nice music behind it, some nice sound effects, and then you upload that to TikTok and put a little description on it and some hashtags. That thing has brand new life. That thing is going to go throughout TikTok. People are going to listen. They're going to love it. They're going to like it. And then you link them to your next stuff and they want to know more about you. It's a win-win situation. You can create content even when the motivation has left the building to create content. Another thing that you may want to do is you have to understand that if you have a large audience or even a small audience, but if you have an audience on social media, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20, up, or anything smaller than that, Facebook in particular, they only show your content to 6 to 10% of your list of your followers, right? So if you have 10,000 followers, I'm not going to do the math in real time, or 20,000 or 30,000, just subtract 6 to 10% from that number, and that's the potential audience that is actually seeing your content. And of that 6 to 10%, not all of that number is actually seeing your content. That's just like the potential that they're showing it to. So you have to greatly consider that most of your content that you're putting out there on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis, most of your audience not even seeing it anyway. So there's no harm or foul if you repost something that was posted 6 months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and don't think that you're going to offend, like, man, they already seen this before, I'm just going to repost it. I'm reposting the same thing. Someone new may see something in the present that you posted 6 months ago, but because the way the algorithm works, they didn't see it on social media. So I would go through using that that content audit again. What did you post 6 months ago that was a hit, that resonated with the people? I will make a new post for it, maybe create a new description, some new hashtags, and then boom, you can take that and put that back out there. And now new eyes of that 6 to 10% are possibly seeing that content. Another thing is let me go back to content repurposing. Also, if you have a blog post, let's say you wrote something in 2024. We're in 2025 right now. If you wrote something in 2024, the facts, the figure, the statistics may have changed or will change in 2025. So that blog post that you put in 2024, it may still be true in essence, but it may not be most up-to-date factual as far as statistics and facts and figures. So what you can do with that blog post is you can swap out the facts, the figures, the statistics, and make it current for 2025. And therefore, what was an old blog post is now a new blog post. Like if you wrote it with the title, 10 steps to do this in 2024. You just update the year and update the statistics, can't get it out, and the facts and figures. And now that is a brand new blog post for a new year, giving them actionable steps in the new year and the new reality. And you can do that in year by year by year. There are some people who only thing they do with their content is they update a few facts, update the year, and they put that post out every year with the updated information. You can do that doing a content audit if you have a little slump where you're not motivated. The last thing that I wanted to say and to give as a step is, as I said, and if you're a content creator, you know what I'm saying, what I'm getting ready to say is true. Sometimes you are really fired up as a content creator. I mean, those ideas are coming to you. Those podcasts are easy to record. Those videos are easy to record. That blog post is easy to write. Ideas are just coming to you. And, you're just in content, I had a word I used yesterday I can't think of right now, but you're on content fire, just to say it that way. You're on fire as a content creator, right? Content overdrive, that's what I use. You're in content overdrive where it's just so much content is flying out from you. In those moments where you have like that, you can use a strategy where once or twice a month, you can dedicate that time to where you're going to batch create a bunch of content. Where once a month, a minimum, or twice a month, you step aside for 1, 2, or 3 hours. And that's your time to create a lot of content in that time. Meaning, you may create 2, 3 podcast episodes back to back, 2, 3 YouTube videos back to back, 2, 3 blog posts or articles back to back. You come up with about 10 memes back to back in that content batch creation time where you're in content overdrive, right? And then you don't have to publish them right then and there. You just have them in reserve. And if you do that once a month at least, you're going to have a lot of content in reserve. And if you do it twice a month, you're going to have just as much, twice that much content in reserve. And what that strategy does for you is when you have those slumps and down moments, now you just go into your bag and pull out something that you already recorded. You may have a YouTube video, you just upload it, title it, put the descriptions, your hashtags, links. Boom, it's a new episode. They don't know you recorded that last month. They don't know you recorded that 2 weeks ago unless you date and time it in the actual episode. Speaking of something that's of a particular year or a particular, time period or some current event topic that was going on. Oh man, that happened last month. He talking about, but most likely if you don't time and date it, they don't know when you recorded that particular episode. So you can pull out your bag of a video, a podcast, a blog post, an article, memes, social media graphics, and therefore you always can have something at the tip of your hand to put out there. So that's something that really is powerful that you can do when you're in that highly motivated mode, you're in content overdrive, or you just make a plan for yourself once, twice a month. This is my content batch time, and I'm going to go at it hard, and I'm going to create a whole bunch of content. And when you do that, you have to do a content audit on that as well, because this just happens to me. I create so much content. And as I say, I don't publish that content when I batch create like that, because I may have 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of content in my batch creating times, right? And so I may forget something that I had. And it's when I go back and do my content audit of my batch content that I created. Oh man, I forgot I did that video. I forgot I recorded that podcast. I forgot I came up with that meme. I forgot that article was written. Whoa, okay. And you may have something, you may be sitting on a real nugget that you just forgot. So go back and do that content audit and do a batch creation strategy, so that when motivation leaves the building and you're just having a slump week or a slump day or a month go by, that doesn't have to stop your show. You're still feeding your audience. You're still feeding your tribe. You're still putting great and amazing information out there. So those are 3 actionable things that you can do to help you still create content and put content out there when you're in a little slump, when your motivation is down. Number 1, do a content audit. Find out what do you already have that's worked for you in the past that can be repurposed, whether it's, turning your podcast into bite-sized episodes, turning a YouTube video into bite-sized episodes, creating memes and social media graphics out of, your blog posts, updating the blog post for the new year or time period so that it's new and relevant for now. There's so many ways you can spin and repurpose. You can take, you can highlight a blog post and you can create a slide of it where, you take the highlights of a particular blog post and you just take the highlights and you just create a slideshow for it. That's a very great. Or you can use that with an infographic. Take those highlights of your blog post and come up with the 6 or 7 highlights and just create some graphics and make it attractive image-wise. And then you make an infographic with that. It's brand new. People like it. It's straight to the point. Good content. Number 2. Oh, God, I lost my chain of thought. Number 2. Okay, we'll just go to number. I'll make the last number 2 until my thoughts come back. But number 2 is you have to batch create your content. When motivation is up, when you're on content overdrive, just create a bunch of content, hold on to it. And when times are down, then you just put that content out there to help fill in those gaps. And I can't remember what my second actionable step was. I do apologize. But if you listen to the episode, you can go back and hear what it was. So if it comes to me, I'll repeat it. So let me see. Okay, well, I'm not going to hold you long. I can't remember, and when you talk a lot like this, sometimes your thoughts just leave you and you just forget things. But I hope this episode was good for you, that you received the actionable steps. Information was well. If you like this episode, please check me out at digitalmarketingwithmustafaa.com. That's my one-stop shop. That's my website that holds my blog. It holds my podcast. It links to my YouTube channel. I have a downloadable digital book, which is Building Your Brand and Information Empire with Content by myself. All you have to do is enter your email. It'll be instantly downloadable. You can begin to use it and create a great empire with information and content. Totally free to you. I just ask that you use it. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section of whichever platform you're listening to this on, whether it's a podcast, whether it's my YouTube channel. Just put it in the comments. And if I see it and if I can answer it, I'll definitely be glad to take a stab at it. If the question is of a nature where I feel I need to do a deeper dive into it, then maybe I'll create a YouTube or podcast episode dedicated to answering your question. So your question can actually be the next episode. And so that's pretty much everything. Thank you for checking out this episode. Check out the other episodes, podcasts, videos, blogs. Check me out on social media under my handle, Mustafaa, your digital marketing specialist. And I'll see you on the next go round. Peace.